Next question, Guruji, I had was that, we did have a glorious past, and some people might use this term pejoratively as well, but let's assume there was one, and somewhere it was lost. So the question really is, why did it get lost? Was it because, and some people, some schools of thought say it was in this difficult language called Sanskrit, which very few people had access to, and they didn't allow everyone, by and large, to get that access, and therefore somewhere, I don't know why it was lost. But the question really is, why was it lost? And is there a way to gain it back in a more democratic fashion so that it does not get lost again too soon? We all know there's a cycle and it will probably get lost again. But can we continue to have it for longer next time rather than? And what lessons can we learn from history about that?
Yes. See, when we look at creation, at ourselves, from the spiritual point of view, then it may not be a surprising statement for you, but maybe for a few of us it may be. There is no past and there is no future. It is always present. So we lost it into the present and we can gain it into the present. Whatever we have lost, we can gain that into present. Sanskrit, as you said, you don't want to delve what happened, how it happened. I am saying, see, look at the present. I am seeing just the reverse picture from here. How many of us, let us put our hands on our heart, how many of us are teaching our children Sanskrit? Who is stopping us? We are not. There is a reason for it. Very few. I keep getting calls, I keep getting people come to me and they tell they are ready to teach free. I say them with folded hand, please charge 1 rupee, don't give free possibly. Because this free things is not valued. Whatever you are getting free, it is not being valued by people. And this again, because these people have a subconscious history that whatever was good, satsang was offered free, guru-disciple relationship was free, so they think all great things need to be free. But here is a practical problem. Today, the kind of education we all have come, they say no, more costly a thing is, more valuable it. This is how we should do. So there is a conflict in values that we will address because some other day, because such a long. So we come to the problem, what it is. So we have to see that if we are ready, we want that it is really treasure hidden in our history, in our scriptures, in our culture, in our gurus, in every written word and every transported word through other means. There is something, then we should prompt our children and we ourselves should try to learn Sanskrit. There is a thing I am saying, because this question has visited me many times, and one very commonsensical answer which is applicable today, I say today, tomorrow I may give you another answer, because that is the difference of education. Tomorrow will require another solution. Today's solution is this: you make your children learn 3 languages in India. This is applicable for whole India. If world community is listening, they can appropriate according to their need. 1 language, English, you have to learn. This is your compulsion to make your ward capable of earning his or her livelihood. Which, because you have developed that mindset, otherwise it was not necessary. So, one thing English. Another is your mother tongue. I am not naming Sanskrit. I am saying your mother tongue. And third is Sanskrit. Now, if you say no, some parents' mother tongue has become English, then they should look their mother tongue and that they should transport to their children. That means grandfather's language. So you have to connect them to their roots. And third, as I say, Sanskrit. Why I am saying Sanskrit? There is a science behind it. Every word in Sanskrit, which you call word, it has a geometrical design. The way it originates through your mouth, the way it connects through the air, the kind of sound it makes, there is exactly same way. There is a fundamental science behind it. See, most of you are engineers. If you have to visualize a thing, you have to do, without visualizing it geometrically, you can't make a design. So in that sense, Sanskrit is the closest to comprehend the reality. That if you only, they say if you chant even, something happens to you, because it is so in a say, see, this is, I'm finding it difficult to how to word in it in English. This is how it is. It is going in what we call geometry of your being, and geometry of your mind, and geometry of your physical structure, and taking all together. So as a cosmic geometry's alignment happens best through these words. And that is how our epic, when the latest this comes version after, there are many in all regional languages, Ramayana is there, but I come from a Hindi background, so I am telling about Goswami Tulsidas. He doesn't begin his Ramayana with anybody else. He says Varna Namat Rasanam Chandasamapi. Word, he begins with word. Mangalanam Chakartaru Bande Vani Binayaku. So first they are propitiating whom? The Varnas, because they know the value. That through this, these are your means, they are your instruments through whom you will know yourself. So in that sense, Sanskrit, how it got lost, there's a very big, we can keep debating over it. But at one point of time, it was pan-Indian language. If you see speaking somebody who is doing chanting in Rameshwaram and another you see in Kanyakumari, diction will be almost same. So, because that is how this language is. So, its beauty is that it is very, what you call, in sync with your existence. So, that helps. That's why we call it mantra. Certain way if you pronounce certain syllables in certain arrangements, they can cure you. This is not a hogwash. You can see anything you all people are knowing what the data is. Today, if you same data you project one day, it gives you another conclusion. Same data you project another way, it gives you another conclusion. So I am saying, if so many people start practicing it and they find the benefit, then there will be a data that yes, it is working like this. As you well said, that most of us are not using Sanskrit language in our daily lives, so it is becoming redundant. But it is the most rich language still in the world. Do you know, maximum number of manuscripts are still in Sanskrit, despite neglection by us through so many years. I may, agree in some way when you say maybe atrocities happened way back when people were not, because we have read all this through English versions, through other languages. This story has not been told to us by our own people mostly. This story, this narrative that there were atrocities against people who tried to read anything in Sanskrit, we do not know. So if I say anything, it will appear as if I am trying to take sides. So we should not talk about the past. Because I said, as a spiritual being, there is no past, there is no future. It is always present. So in present, what is lost onto us, we can again create. Now at least nobody is saying to us, nobody can dare say it, why are you stopping us from reading Sanskrit? Whole world can recite Sanskrit, and I am sure there will not be a single person to say that no, it is my right only to read Sanskrit. Rather, they are those who are being indirectly accused, they are crying everywhere, please everybody should read it and know its value so that you become a whole human being. So see, history has a strong ways of revisiting itself. Even if that was the true, now the same language is looking for our attention for our welfare. So we should take this opportunity and enrich ourselves so that we know our glory in the right sense, not in an exaggerated sense, in real sense. Through our language, we will know it as it is. So that is very necessary. If this can be done along with, if you think it is not a burden on your children, please initiate them into learning 3 languages at least. I cannot say such things. It will sound so idealistic. I say, don't read this language or that language. I can only say, read this also. Read this also. So that you have best of all the worlds, not both the worlds. So we can move forward this way.